Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Hui Ood, an unofficial Doctor Who watch along, or should I say, listen along podcast. My name is Ben. I'm here as always, forever and ever and ever. My co-host Cam. How you doing today, Cam?
I am doing wonderful. I am ready to talk about Doctor Who,
Yes.
and I'm in particular ready to talk about these two episodes of Big Finish. This episode,
hmm
I've been playing Death Stranding, and I've been enjoying it very much.
Have you played it before?
I have not. I was one of the many people that was very excited for it because I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan.
hmm
And then just basically what happened was, like, most people, not most people I should say, but a lot of people, that, like, I played 2 hours of it and was like, "Oof, this is not what I wanted. This is not fun. I did not click for me." And I feel like a lot of people would say is that, like, the game really clicks with you once you hit that 3rd chapter. And basically what happened is the trailer for the second game came out, and with the release date of the second game, and I was like, I'm gonna play. I'm gonna give it a shot. And I actually this time around got past chapter 3. Well, I should say got past chapter 3, but got past chapter 2 to get to chapter 3. And it really is true. The whole game just clicks at that point, and it's great. But this isn't a Death Stranding podcast, Ben. This is a Doctor Who podcast.
Well, I wanted to say how I'm doing. I'm good. What I've been up to is at your urging, I've been playing Metal Gear.
But not solid. For a few listeners who got confused.
Solid is the third game in the series.
Uh,
So, of course, I have to start with the first one for the MSX Japanese computer. Obvious. That goes without saying. So I'm halfway or not quite, like a third of the way through Metal Gear 2. Metal Gear 1 was surprisingly fun, a little bit more. It's not really a stealth game. Very, very minorly a stealth game. I mean, I don't know.
for the time, it was a stealth game.
Yeah, but Metal Gear 2 is definitely a huge jump forward. You can crawl around, you can hide in nooks and crannies. It's got like an actual story other than you soldier, you infiltrate base, you save scientists. It's got like more going on. It's pretty good. I'm liking it. But today we're not talking about anything by Hideo Kojima. Today we are discussing the Big Finish, the Lost Stories special release, the Fourth Doctor box set, which consists of the Foe from the Future and The Valley of Death, which we're talking about now because they're tangentially Philip Hinchcliffe era. These are two Leela stories. The Foe from the Future, I believe, was the an alternative decision instead of the Talents of Wang Chiang, and The Valley of Death would have been in season 15 if Philip Hinchcliffe stayed on, if I'm understanding that correctly.
It was just from what I got out of it is that, like, he just always had this idea of doing a jungle story, and he also had an idea to do this story uh with like an alien invasion. And he was just like, I'm gonna combine the two. And basically at the time, Robert Holmes was not interested in doing a story just set in the jungle. He was just basically said, fuck off, Philip Hinchcliffe. And then Big Finish got to him and was like, I can finally do that story that I wanted to do in the jungle.
hmm
And then From for the Future, the behind the scenes of that is that they commissioned Robert Banks Stewart to do, not commissioned, sorry. They talked to Robert Banks Stewart to do another story because, of course, after Terror of the Zygons and Seeds of Doom, that you're gonna want to get that guy back again to do another story. And they originally was going to be the that last episode of season 14, but then he got commissioned for a soap. Verity Lambert actually called him up and was like, "Hey, I need you to be like, I think it was script editor for like a soap opera." And he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna take that job. Sorry, Doctor Who." So he only really was able to write a transcript for from the Future, and that's what the story is based off of.
Interesting.
So one is more based off of a transcript, and one is more based off of a couple ideas that Philip Hinchcliffe had.
Well, I guess the first one,
Well, it did come out January 9th, 2012.
yes.
And then also, so sorry, but for consistency's sake, say the directors and writer. I mean, yeah, I think it's is it two directors or one director?
It was produced by David Richardson, who he does, I think, quite a bit. Literally all the behind the scenes stuff I've listened to for the Companion Chronicles and the Lost Stories is him interviewing the cast. Seems like a interesting guy. Foe from the Future, originally written by Robert Banks Stewart and adapted by John Dorney. Valley of Death is originally written by Philip Hinchcliffe and adapted by Jonathan Morris. So, to start with The Foe from the Future, Cam, what did you think of The Foe from the Future?
It's very good. It was one of those Big Finish stories where I was like, "Damn, this is a very good story." And it uses Big Finish really well of like, well, what was in my mind you couldn't have done on TV. You still really can't do that story on TV nowadays because it's
Oh,
really
yeah.
it goes very big, that story. But it's very good. I'm curious to see. I don't know if that transcript for the Foe from the Future is out there to read, but I'm very curious to see how that transcript is compares to the story that we got for the audio.
Mhm. I know the big thing that was changed is I think there weren't he talks about it in behind the scenes,
Yeah.
the person who adapted it. There weren't, like, any female characters, so he swapped some sexes and introduced Charlotte from The Village as another kind of ally for the Doctor.
Which thank God he did because she's a wonderful companion-esque to the Doctor.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
A third companion for this story. And Tom does so well with just being saying like Charlotte from the Village. Him and his that cadence is very well. It was very good. But yeah, it's a very good story. I have some problems like halfway through it where I was like because of he keeps up with what he did for Seeds of Doom, where halfway through the story, basically it changes to be a different story. So the first two parts are this other setting, and then he basically changes the setting for the story to be completely different. I was taken aback by that at first, so I really couldn't get back into it until I would say pot four, and then by that point, pot five, I was really back invested into it as I was, but I would say from pot one and two. I don't know if you are feeling similar about that. Did the setting change your perspective at all for this viewing, or were you put off by it at all? Because of course, like the first two episodes are very much more gothic horror, like the Hinchcliffe era.
Yes, the village and the evil mansion in the Grange, and then we go into this, futuristic
Yeah,
or, I mean, I suppose it's literally the future. I as with any kind of change in the status quo, it is slightly disorienting, but I got my head around it pretty quick, I think. To say my thoughts, I agree with you. I think this is an excellent story. The Big Finish I had listened to previously, I've been just doing the Companion Chronicles, 90% the Companion Chronicles, which is like a one or a two-hander.
because of course, if people, if this is your first time listening to it, Ben has only seen up to the Talents of Wang Chang.
Yeah. So that kinda limits a lot of what I can listen to. I've only been listening to stuff with the first 3 Doctors, which a lot of it has been quite good. But this is the first full cast story I listened to, so I think I got quite a bit more out of it, which that was, originally a little disorienting, not having any narration, just dialogue and sound effects, but I was really, it does a really great job. I could imagine everything. It felt what are the bugs?
Great question. I'll look it up.
The Pantophagon. I could vividly picture the Pantophagon.
I don't know about you, Ben, but like, all right, here's my question to you with the listening to a full cast audio drama for the first time. Did you envision it in your head like you would, or did you have a somewhat of a 70s Doctor Who filter over it at all?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I personally, when I was listening to it, I was just listening to it like how like my mind would, just picturing the story. And then there was some moments where I'm like, "All right, I'm trying to imagine this story in the '70s particular, like, aesthetic. Because imagine the Pantophagian back in the day in the '70s, like, it would've been like a puppet, like, it would've been
Yeah.
awful.
No, I didn't imagine the budgetary constraints that they would have been under. I just imagined it as if it were real, and the way the scene was set, I think, was done very well.
And then, like, Lord Jalnik being, like, half insectoid, like, that would've been awesome in the '70s.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I it's a really, I think, excellent story. I don't think they could have done it well, but if somehow they could have, I think this would have been pretty damn close to the status of Talons of Wang Chang. I think this is like an excellent, suitably grand six-parter.
It's Seeds of Doom Part 2. It's just him doing Seeds of Doom again, basically. And there's nothing wrong about that. He changes so much more of the story, but he keeps some of those elements of Seeds of Doom.
Oh, yeah.
Again, like I said, having those first 2 pots being one setting, and then he really changes it that 3rd pot, like he said with Seeds of Doom, and then, also having the story revolve around these transforming aliens. Well, like, not really an alien in this story technically, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, trans-dimensional beings.
But, like, there's having, like, the whole half human, half this other thing is very much similar to Seeds of Doom, uh, especially along with, like, being having to be fed and stuff is similar to Seeds of Doom as well. You can tell that that was maybe something that he was interested in, as a science fiction concept.
Yeah.
But, just to start off, when we're talking about we talked about the big picture, but just starting off with, like, the little picture stuff. What did you think of Tom's performance in this? Because of course, this is Tom's first big finish.
Yes, the first time Tom Baker was doing Big Finish. You know, they had stuff with, like, Elizabeth Sladen, they had stuff with Louise Jameson, but this is the first Tom Baker, and I think, he does an excellent job. You can tell, you know, his voice is a little bit 40 years older, but I think in many ways, it's like he never left.
I agree, but I do think that there's some moments here that Tom hasn't fully grasped, especially like early on. I feel like throughout the story, and then when we get to the next story, Valley of Death, you can kind of tell it's recorded in order. Because I felt like the first pot or two, he's kind of a little bit just sounds like he's reading off of a script that like he doesn't he didn't do a great job with like the when you're doing like a big finish audio drama, like, you're running and, like, you kinda have to be like, "Okay, we're running." Like, you have to, like, you kinda have to act like you're doing the motions, but he kinda sometimes is just very much like, "I am Tom Baker reading a script."
Yeah.
I don't know if you got that at all for those first couple of pots. He kinda gets better as he goes on.
I guess I didn't really pay attention.
I thought that his performance in, like, the starting the first half was a little bit more he's starting to get a little bit more used to doing an audio drama and getting back to playing Doctor Who. I felt like by the time we got to the next story, Valley of Death, he really understood. Okay, this is here I go. Maybe I'm dumb, and the actual behind the scenes is that they recorded Valley of Death first. But I feel like I feel pretty confident that they probably did it in order,
I think they did.
and I think that you can kind of you can kind of tell that his performance gets better and better throughout this story and then the next story. And of course, Louise Jameson doesn't have that problem because, like you mentioned, she already did a bunch of Big Finish before this. She was in the
She did a couple Companion Chronicles.
and she also was in Gallifrey, so, like, she had multiple experiences doing Big Finish, so she is fantastic as Leela all those years later,
Oh, yeah.
and Leela is great in this story.
I would definitely agree. I think she was really great, even to the point where, like, significantly more attached to her now than I was before I listened to this,
Mm.
you know, just from the 3 episodes I've seen with her. Like, I love that picture of her, you know, riding the Pantophagian, but with, you know, wrangling it with the doctor's scarf, going through the vortex. being really heroic and
Yeah.
badass.
Again, it also helps that this is written 40 years afterwards, so, like, writing for a female badass has come a long way since the 70s,
True.
so they can write in more in that perspective, and Louise Jameson also is more comfortable in the role, so she's great in this story, like you said. But yeah, no, it is just a genuinely great story.
Yeah.
Where to go next, Ben?
Do we want to pick out some characters to talk about, like Jalnik or
Yeah, let's do Jalnik. Jalnik is a cool villain.
yeah.
It's pretty similar to, like, a lot of villains at this era of just, like, he is an evil scientist bad guy that experiments went wrong, and now he wants everyone to be like him. You could picture this type of villain
Hmm.
in a Hitchcliff era Doctor Who episodes. He's very much similar to a Morbius. He's similar to a, Magnus Grail, like,
Yeah.
very much similar to those type of villains. And he's great. And then the factor of you always having to be fed is great. And like the audio design of like the little slivering after when he is hungry or after being fed is great.
Oh, yeah. Just so many mouth sounds and ugh. But yeah, he's a very interesting villain. There's I believe something that was added by John Dorney with, the gender swapping of this his previous relationship with one of the kind of the secondary antagonists, Costal, which is one of his motivators for this, which adds some three-dimensionality to his character.
And do you know is played by Paul Freeman, who is one of the Nazis in Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Really?
which is very cool. He's also the Reverend in Hot Fuzz. Which has one of the coolest scenes ever for a Reverend when he pulls out the 2 guns in Hot Fuzz.
I need to rewatch that movie. Anything more to say about Jalnik?
No, he's a good, scary bad guy that keeps the story going. I think that Paul Freeman does a great job in his performance. It's just the right amount of, like, over the top bad guy, but also there is a bit of seriousness in there as well.
Mhm.
Like, you can tell he's having fun with the performance, but also he has some grounding to it.
Oh, yeah. I think to an extent, like what you were saying with Tom, but aside from that, I think everyone did a excellent performances. What did you think of Charlotte from the Village?
Don't really have much more to say, from what we already talked about.
Yeah.
Of she's just kind of just a wonderful third edition for the Doctor and Leela, and like there's a lot of portions there where like the Doctor is just the Doctor and Catherine from the Village, and they're great together.
Yeah. I had a little bit of confusion with her about like how old is she supposed to be? Because like when we start, like the very beginning is her and her like cousin, and she's got kind of a high voice, and I was picturing like a 6-year-old, and then maybe a teenager. Is she a teenager? I don't know. I don't know how old she's supposed to be.
I don't know either, man. That's a great question.
Presumably, she's not a 6-year-old.
I assume probably like young 20s ish.
Hmm.
I say that she's able to go to I forget the guy that she ends up with at the end.
The like instructor
Yeah,
guy who's also a this slight pseudo companion,
Shabak.
Shabak. Yeah.
She's old enough that you could imagine that the two of them would become a couple and have a wonderful life together.
Yeah, anything more to talk about for Folk from the Future? Anything to say about the Pantophagian that we haven't already said?
It works. Again, I don't know how that would have worked in the 70s when this transcript was a thing.
It would have been a Wern situation.
Yeah. Or I just imagined like the little puppet. It would have been wonderful. It would have had a charm to it.
Perhaps. Maybe a little stop motion.
No, have you not learned anything, Ben, that Doctor Who in the 70s cannot afford stop motion?
They have had like 10 seconds of stop motion in the last 3 seasons, I think.
Like, I don't even remember when. I don't know what you're talking about.
We had a couple seconds of vines on the house and Seeds of Doom, and a couple seconds of the Doctor being chased by the I forget the exact species, but the Loch Ness Monster in Terror of the Zygons.
Yeah, I think that was just a puppet in Zygons.
I thought there was some stop motion of it, like, walking on the ground.
Maybe. Yeah, now that you're
Like,
saying that, that
literally
sounds right.
just, like, 2 seconds.
But, like, not good stop motion. Not like stop motion that they had a couple hours to do it. They couldn't this wasn't a multi-day project.
True.
But no, it's a very good story. I like the part where, like, I think it does a great job of the pacing of it. Except for, like I said, I had a little bit of issues in part 3, but, like, the first 2 parts really set up the atmosphere of the village, and it has that great mystery of what's going on, and you really with the Doctor and Leela. And then, when we do have the time change, it is interesting again that we have that other mystery to it. And then once the story really boosts up in like part 5 and part 6, it has a really epic scale to the story, and does really feel like you said, like it would have been a season finale type story.
Yeah.
And I think it is a cool idea that he tricked all those people into drinking, like, he poisoned the water to make them all be like him, like the mutated versions, and then but not giving it to everybody, so then they would have someone to feed on. It's great.
Yeah.
And also, I just wanna shout out Butler named Butler. That is just a great little detail, and especially Tom Baker saying it is fantastic.
Butler. Yeah.
And he has a the butler has a great, like, relationship with Dominic. Yeah, it's kind of one of those stories that's hard to talk about just because it's like everything basically you said is just like, "No, it's great. It's good. It's a good story."
It works very well.
It's one of those stories where you're just like, "No, this is Big Finish at this is one of Big Finish's best stories."
From what I've listened to, I can't argue with that. Cliffhangers wise, I listened to this as I was driving, so I didn't write anything down.
How
Is
dare you,
there
Ben?
any that stand out to you? I remember, I guess it would be part 5 as Leela is, seemingly lost in the vortex forever and ever, and also they're about to be the Doctor and Leader is about to be killed by the Pantophagian. I remember that being good.
I remember part 3's cliffhanger is them getting, like, chased by the Panther Asian. And then, like, part 4 is just a basic just like, "Ah, we're held up at gunpoint." I forget what 1 and 2 are. Well, 2 is just them going to the
I
future.
think 2 is they're, like, in, like, the crypt or whatever it
Yeah,
is, and they're confronted, the Leela and the Doctor and Charlotte
yeah,
are confronted by Jalnik, who, like, comes out of the shadows.
yeah.
But yeah, what would you rate this, Cam?
It's hard because we don't have any other big finish to judge it by, you know? It's easier when we're doing it now because we have other stories to be like, "Okay, this is like this is not as good as this story. I gave this a 7, so I'm just gonna give it like a 6 point something." It's kind of hard because it's like I'm it's very much I'm shooting at the hip, you know?
Yeah. Give us give us your rating now, and then when we're comparing it to Valley of Death, you can adjust it later.
Well, it's like not compared to Valley. It's not fair for Valley because I think Valley is completely different. Is like way different. There's a difference in rating. But like what's a 9? What makes a Big Finish 9 compared to a Big Finish like 9.7? You know?
I mean, I can look at what my ratings of Big Finish because 'cause I've rated almost every companion chronicle I've listened to.
I'm just gonna give it a 9. It's a great story. It's a 9.
Would it be unfair to compare it to, the TV episodes? Like, we gave Towns of Wang Chiang a 9. Is this as good as that?
But no, it's
Or
different
is it
medium.
a different medium and it's not really translatable?
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, I'll give it a 9 too. It's really, really excellent, and I can definitely see it being one of its best. So, next is The Valley of Death, which is a four-parter. Should I ask you again, or do you wanna ask me what I think?
Yeah, I know, Ben. I did it last time. So Ben, what did you think of the Valley of Death?
I thought it was very good. a very, very different kind of story than the Foe from the Future. For a story called The Valley of Death, if is a little strange how if like only one and a half ish of it is in the valley and the rest is in like a spaceship and unit and all that. I think the stuff where it's just like traipsing through the jungle and there's like natives, so gotta go on the expedition, that stuff was all right. I thought all the stuff on the spaceship itself in like parts 3 and 4, and the sun and everything. I thought that was I enjoyed that much more. What did you think?
I am much harder on this. I thought the story was just fine. It's okay. It's pretty much a bog standard Doctor Who episode. It's not offensive in any way, but also it's not like it doesn't stand out to me in any way also. It's just kinda an episode of Doctor Who that you listen to, and I'm just gonna forget about this tomorrow. That's how I feel about it. It's just there's nothing there to stick on to. I enjoyed the story actually more. I'm opposite of you. I enjoyed it more when it was in the jungle setting and like especially like the part one where it's like, all right, in like the beginning of part two, where it's like, okay, there's a little bit more of a mystery here. What's going on? What happened to his great grandfather?
Mhm.
And then like by the point where it's just like, oh, it's just an alien, and they just don't even play with the jungle stuff in the tribe anymore. It just basically at that point it just becomes a science fiction alien invasion story, which is fine. But I kind of more wanted a jungle mystery story, but instead we just kind of that's the scene change again kind of threw me off, and I didn't have as much time with Foe to be able to sit into it and get readjusted and be like, okay, I'm invested back in. I was not invested at all for the science fiction stuff. So I found it to be pretty boring and pretty traditional Doctor Who.
Damn.
And yeah, I just think it's fine.
Don't even like the doctor trying to shut down the sun, Leela sacrificing herself, having to fight robot doubles of themselves. Isn't that cool?
The robot double thing, no, because it's just like we've all seen that in science fiction before. I've seen it in Doctor Who before. It's just like
True.
there's nothing there that I'm like, oh yeah. Well, we saw it. We saw it literally last season, and Cliff already did it.
I mean, but that was 40 years ago.
But yeah, I think you can generally feel that it is a Hinchcliffe had these two ideas of I want to do a story in the jungle, and I want to do
Yeah.
the story about evading aliens, and just said, let's do a story where they combine them to get both together.
Yeah, the two halves feel fairly disconnected,
Yeah,
aside from the allies that link them together, neither of which were that excellent.
no. And then like I did like the little Doctor Who reference. That was nice.
Hmm.
Where they were like when they go to the BBC and we have the BBC announcer and the BBC announcer is like
Oh, yeah.
next is bandstand or band station whatever the fuck the one of the was after Doctor Who because Doctor Who of course was mixed in with like two very popular programs. It's like I think the beginning was like the sports results and the second part was like band station or bandstand or I think it's just bandstand if I remember correctly. But now join us for part 3 of and then they cut off.
Yeah, I was a neat kind of meta way, like the alien goes to the BBC and broadcasts to the world.
Yeah. No, I found that to be cute. But like I don't know. I like I said, I like the first part of it where it was like, okay, we have this journal. I like the twist of like, oh, but he's actually not dead. I found that twist to be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a time bubble.
Yeah. But yeah, I could not care about the alien invasion storyline.
Yeah, I like it more than you, but it's absolutely the weakest of the two stories in this box set.
Yeah, but also I feel bad honestly for any story that has to follow for the future, just because that's such a strong story, as well as like it has that legacy behind it of just like that is an actual lost story where Valley of Dust is just a couple of ideas that Philip Hinchcliffe wanted to do that Robert Holmes told him, "No, we can't do that. Fuck off."
True. Oh, what to talk about? How is Layla in this story?
It's good. I thought Leela is good, and I thought that Tom, like I said in the previous episode, that like Tom performance is even better than with Phil from the Future. He really just from this second episode, the second serial, he picks up on. All right, this is how I'm going to do audio. Like I know how to play the Doctor in audio at this point. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, I really love the moment with Leela, you know, saving the doctor in the last part, kind of sacrificing herself. That was good. I also thought it was funny earlier when she and Edward Perkins are trapped, and she's thought, "Oh, the doctor told me always look for the vents." And yeah, the Tom did an excellent job. You know, very. Both of these stories are very funny.
Yeah.
He has a lot of quips. I wish I was not driving and I could have written down some of them.
Some of the quips I did feel like, oh no, that's a new Doctor quip. Of course, you don't have that context, but there's some of them I'm like, that's a new Doctor quip. That's weird hearing Tom say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause of course, like that's the thing with these two stories of like there is a little bit there that like with Big Finish of that there is they have the new series of course exist. So like they can be inspired by that. And of course that's just gonna seep into it just because that exists and you're just already you're gonna think, oh, I'm writing Doctor Who. And you're gonna think about previous Doctor Who's, you know?
Mhm. Well, I don't know how much more there is to say about this one. It's gonna be a little lopsided.
but I kind of but that's kind of like this box set is. It is
I suppose that's what the box set is, yeah.
it is just like they start off very strong, and then the second half is just kind of like, okay, that existed. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah. It was pretty much the same case for the two other box sets that are the Lost Stories, the first Doctor box set and the second Doctor box set. First Doctor box set more so, excellent first story.
What's the first story in that one? I don't know about anything about this story, so describe it to me. Then.
Farewell, Great Macedon. It's a historical Ian Barbara Susan going to Alexander the Great
Mm,
before he dies and the lead up, the treachery before his death from both, you know, their perspective and also the perpetrator's perspective. It's excellent six-parter. And then the Fragile Yellow Arc of Fragrance is like a one-parter that's like a part 4 to a story that we haven't watched the previous bit of
mm.
about some romance with Barbara and an alien, and the alien has to sacrifice himself because he can only love one person in his whole life, and it's less interesting. And then the second Doctor box set was Prison in Space. Women have control of the Earth. Men are second class citizens. The Doctor and Jamie get sent to prison. Zoe gets brainwashed. It's a four-parter. It's not. I mean, it's fine. Most interesting thing about it is there's a spanking scene where Jamie puts Zoe over his knee and spanks her
Oh God.
to break her brainwashing. And then there's the pilot episode of the proposed US Dalek series that follows that, which isn't related to Second Doctor in any way,
Yeah,
which I don't know why that's in the Second Doctor box set, but that isn't as good as Prison in Space.
interesting. But
So that's a big tangent there. Yeah, but it's lopsided.
yeah, right. Let's just get to the ratings then, Ben.
No cliffhangers.
I don't remember them. I just remember the first one is the first one them. I, I forget what the first one is. I forgot all of them. Jam.
Yep, I don't remember any of them, and there's no synopsis on the Charters wiki, so
Yeah.
oh well,
If you listen to both of these stories, you kind of came here to listen to us talk about for the future.
probably.
So sorry if you really were we clicked on this video or podcast, you were like, I want to listen to these guys talk about the Valley of the Death. It's in particular the cliffhangers.
I'm so sorry, dear listener. Cam, what would you rate The Valley of Death?
6.5.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a 7.4. It was good, but nowhere near as good as Poe. Alrighty. There's no for both of these now, of course, there's no Doctor Who magazine polls, which is what we would normally talk about. We can go to this cool website, the timescales.com. We've mentioned it before.
Doctor Who magazine ranks every Big Finish story.
Ah, that would be interesting.
No, they Doctor Who magazine would go out of business because there's not enough paper in the world that could that could have all those in a list.
Yeah, the first ever 1,000-page magazine.
Part one, part two, part three.
But we can compare this to the timescales.com, which is a website. It has ratings and reviews of basically every piece of Doctor Who media that is like tangentially, like from writers. All the BBV and stuff is on it. Other series that Big Finish does that aren't Doctor Who, just everything that's kind of even tangentially related. But according to 151 ratings, The Foe from the Future gets a 8.8 and The Valley of Death gets a 7.6,
Makes sense.
which I would agree with. You're a little bit harsher on The Valley of Death, but still consistent.
Yes.
So is that going to do it?
That's gonna do it for today's episode.
Already. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow us on every platform that exists or has yet to exist. Check out our shorts if we post some.
And if we're not on a platform, tell us, and we'll be on it.
We got to make a Threads real quick.
Oh God,
Got to make a Mastodon and a Blue
I
Sky.
don't think Threads matters because I don't think anybody's on it.
We got to get our own IRC channel or Discord server. We got work to do. But thank you so much for tuning in and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Peace out, everyone.